The nation, and this morning we are looking at matters county governance, and I'll start first of all by just recounting on what question we had asked earlier on, and we had asked whether you feel that the war between the county executive and that of MCAs is impeding the development that the counties should be experiencing right now. And I'll just read some of the comments that are coming through. Who says no, that the case. We have Dennis who says, of course it is. By now, devolution should have taken us very far in our counties, but unfortunately, we are still right where we began. I believe it is ego wars. All right. We also have another tweet that says that, yes, indeed, unfortunately, we have had the executive in county level and the MCAs at war to the expense of county development. What are your thoughts? Do let us know what they are. I'm going to be reading them as we carry on with the show. But I'm now joined by the governor for Machakos County. That's Dr. Alfred Mutua. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Asante sana,
and Karibu Sana, thank you for honoring the invite.
Thank you. I'm actually very happy because I'm seeing you holding your phone and scrolling and reading, and we are on air. And I remember the olden days of journalism, where you couldn't even, they always told you, turn off your phone, turn off your phone.
Well, things have changed
the
now.
days of 3310.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it was a phone and also a weapon. You know,
you could use it as a brick to hit someone.
I'm telling you.
All right, let's dig right into it. And
Yes.
There's a story that we watched here earlier on from Taita Taveta County, and that's Granton Samboja, who right now is at the verge of saying that he wants to dissolve his county government. And this is because MCAs have come out and they just seem to not agree. I know that you also had issues with your MCAs earlier on, but you've resolved them. But let's start by, first of all, hearing from you as a governor now who has a lot of experience.
Yes.
What is not working? Is the system, is the job description between the executive and the MCAs not cut out well enough for it to function?
Well, I think what is not working is basically Kenya. It's our culture. We are a people who like getting away with doing things badly. I mean, the constitution is very clear. The law is very clear. The regulations are very clear. The control of budget is very clear. Everything is there in black and white. But as a people, we have really not understood governance. We really have not understood what our roles are. The constitution clearly says there's an executive led by the governor and others, and then there is the legislature part, the county assemblies, the parliament and others, whose job are to check us, whose job are to look at how we've done. But now, unfortunately, because of the state of our culture in our country, MCAs, MPs feel that they are similar to governors, that they also should participate in development. It's actually against the law, because you cannot participate in development and at the same time, you know, do your job of oversight of whether that development has been done properly or not. So if this was in Australia, in England, in Canada, in developed countries, it's clear cut. Nobody interferes. But here, because the law is the law, but we change it according to our own whims, we find that
people want to do things
their own way. And then now, people look at money. People think that it's an issue of ego. It's not just ego. It's the funds. The reason a lot of MCAs are pushing for development towards funds is because they saw their counterparts with CDF. What did their counterparts with CDF do? They appointed their CDF cronies, their relatives. The companies doing their work are mostly either theirs or related to theirs. So basically CDF money becomes extra money. It's basically corruption for the MPs to make money. That's how it has been for a long time.
But allow me to ask
MCAs
this.
are also looking at that opportunity to eat.
When you say that it's because we've not understood governance, is that really because we don't understand the law, or is it because people do not want to understand intentionally so that they can literally misuse their positions for self-gain?
It's one simple word that is aid. It's basically impunity. It's impunity. You know, MCAs understand their roles. Governors understand their roles. But there's just general impunity because people want to eat. People want to be in control. People want the governor to jump up and down. I mean, it has happened to me in the past, whereby they tell you, we are not going to pass the budget until you give us $1 million shillings each. $500,000 shillings each. You tell them, where am I going to get $500,000 to bribe you to do your work.
These things actually happen.
No, they happen. They
ask for $500,000.
They ask for $1 million. They ask for $2 million. So you've got a county assembly.
Have you had this experience yourself?
Yes,
people come and ask you?
Many times.
And did you flag them? Did you?
Many times. I flagged them. I mean, they impeached me once. They tried to impeach me once. They tried to impeach me once. I've had bottlenecks. My CIDP is yet to pass. Now it's passing. Myself and Machakos MCAs, we've worked out a deal. We've sat down. We've agreed. And I'm very lucky. I'm actually very lucky that we've got some MCAs in Machakos who are brilliant business people. We've got a speaker who is also a brilliant lawyer. And now we've got into a place whereby now they understand that for us to be able to move together as Machakos and deliver on devolution, we have to work together. Put greed kando. But even among their cronies, there are some who are still pushing, we want money, we want money. But we've got good leadership, we've got good support, we've got, I would say, out of 60, about 50 or 55 MCAs now are now excited about us taking Machakos to the next level.
Okay.
But it has taken time for us to get there. I feel sorry for my friend Samboja.
And what is your secret? What is it that you use to resolve? What's the magic bullet that you use to ensure that now you have MCAs on your side?
Ni unakaa ngumu, you have law on your side, but also it's about interpersonal relations. But majority of the time, and I would peg it at 80 to 85% of the time, MCAs are difficult because of outside influence. In the past, in the first term, it were the senators. I had Senator Mudhama, you find Mwangi Riyad, the senator, all the senators, you find the senators wanted to be governors. And so they figured, let's cut down this governor so that he does not get re-elected. The senators were a very big problem in the first term.
So this is a political war.
This, yeah. Now then you get party leaders. In Machakos, for example, and what is happening now in Kitui, happening in Makueni, the Wiper party leader is fully involved in rabble-rousing. You know, how can I control Ngilo? By telling the Wiper MCAs to give her a hard time. So she can come to me so that I can tell her, I want this. How do I control? So that happened a lot in Machakos, where MCAs would get phone calls and told, do not pass that budget. Make it life difficult for Mutua. Do not do this. Why? Because there are some leaders who are afraid of competition. They know that their time is done. That, you know, they have done their job well, they are finished, and now they are afraid of the transition. So a lot of it is also political. You look at basically every impeachment motion that has been brought against the governor has not come solely from the MCAs. It has been engineered by somebody outside. Okay,
unfortunately, they're not here to defend themselves. But let's look at solutions. What is it that would work? What is the model that you think would work for counties? Because at the end of the day, you'll agree with me, Wanjiko suffers.
Yes.
When there's all this war between the MCAs and the executive, or whether it is through political muscle and all that, Wanjiko is the one that is not getting service delivered. In a case, for instance, if I took Machakos, for example, at the point where you had said you'll not pay the MCAs, they had also said they'll not pass the budget. Who suffers? It's Wanjiko. They get their salaries.
Yes.
There's a budget reserved for them that 50% still comes to the county where they will still get their salaries. So they're okay. Governor is okay. But what about Wanjiko?
Yeah, I mean, it's in Machakos, it's Kamene. But, you know, and it's the people suffer when the leaders battle over resources and money. At the end of the day, when there's a slowdown of the economy at any time, when money is not in circulation, when there is a problem, Mwananchi suffers. Then you wonder, why do we have these leaders? But I always blame the electorate to a certain degree. What are the standards that we have in this country in terms of electing leaders? I was lucky, grew up very poor, but I was lucky to go to the US, got a scholarship, and I remember the family I was living with. And come election time, they would sit at a table, a family, baba, mama, watoto, they would come in laws, they would sit at the table, and they would debate, and they would have papers on the table. What are the policies of this member of parliament of our region or member of Congress? Atafanya nini? Is it possible? How is he going to get the money or she get the money? What about this one? And they would debate based on policies, not based on tribe, not based on nani ametuhonga, not based on this and that. And they would make a decision on who to vote for, agree to disagree, based on who is going to improve their life and the life of even the children that are not born. That is why the United States is a first world country. But how do we vote here? ni mtu wetu. How do we vote here? Ni huyu ametupatia shilingi 50, ni huyu ametuhonga kidogo, ni huyu anatufanyanga hivi, ni huyu anatunulia pombe, haya ni huyu, ni huyu ametukana watu wengine. So we vote for these people who are not capable, and then we look around and say Mungu tusaidie. Mungu anatuangalia anasema haya, si niliwapatia akili, niliwapatia nguvu. So we really need to change. We need a civic education among our people so that we can decide, that we can understand that leadership is about giving services and development to the people. And that is not through self-enrichment. It is not about hiring the richest thief and then you wonder why he's still stealing.
Whereas that is true, Governor Mutua. I mean, we are also, as the electorate, if I can speak on behalf of the electorate, sometimes confused, because when we look at our politicians and our political parties, they're not driven by what you're talking about,
policy-oriented
ideas, policy, vision, and that kind of thing. Literally, they're driven by galvanizing people, whether it is tribes, whether it is communities, whether it is Mtuwetu. So really, it's like catch-22.
And the concept of it is now our time.
Exactly.
What is this stupidity of it is now our time? You know, it is not our time. It is the time for liberation of our people who are losing hope. And that comes through a leader who has a vision, a leader who can take us further from where the other leaders have taken us to even greater heights. When you say it is our time, it was promised. Tulikubaliana. Tunakubaliana. Kwani people are sitting down and saying, mimi nitaenda hivi, nikimaliza tuendelee na hii. Kwani Kenya ni yao? You cannot sit down and petition Kenya and say it is my time, nikimaliza ni wewe, ukimaliza ni wewe. That is arrogance of the highest order, thinking that you, born of a woman like the rest of us, can sit down with others and petition Kenya and saying chukua hapa, chukua hapa, chukua hapa. Kwani sisi tulizaliwa na nani? Kenya is not for one person. Each individual is a human being. We wake up in the morning, we go to the toilet, we fall asleep, we get sick, we are born, we die. We are human beings. Our blood ya Uhuru Kenyatta, damu yako, damu yangu, ni ile nyekundu. We are human beings, created by God. So nobody is more special, if I can use that word, because you can't use more and special at the same time, than the other. We are the same. And so for a group of people, cronies, to sit down and say, nikimaliza utapata hii, utapata hii, utapata hii. That's what we are saying, and that's what some people are saying. There is nothing like, ati tunaachiana, unaachia nani? Hakuna kuachiana. It is about which leader is going to transform my life. Because tukianza hiyo mpango, we will remain poor and in the third world forever.
And it also, sort of throws shade in the face of democracy, because really democracy is about the people. But now, Governor, we cannot sit here as you as Governor and you complain. So what is it that you're doing? You're in a position of influence. You're in a very powerful position. What is it that you're doing to ensure that Kenya is a better country? I know you'll start with Machakos. I say charity begins at home, but you're still in a position where you can influence matters to do with the country.
This is why I want to change the conversation around Kenya. If somebody asks me, sure, you're running for president. Who is your base? What is your base? Because here people think, unaleta nini kwa meza.
So in 2022 you are running for president?
I'm running for president. If you see me on the ballot, my friend, God willing, if you see me on the ballot, know that I'll win. Because I'm not going to be on the ballot to be frivolous.
You say
just to appear.
If we see you on the ballot.
If you
so
see me on the ballot,
50-50
I will win. No, I'm not 50-50. I am going for president. But I'm going to be very pragmatic about it. And I'll have my name on the ballot. And so I'm telling you, if you see my name on the ballot, because you will see on ballot, know that we will win. Because Kenya is changing. And God loves this country. And God wants this country to go to greater heights. But we cannot continue unless there's a change in the way things are done. And the other leaders are doing a very good job. They have done a great job. They have done what they can. But there comes a time when there's a transition. Now, I am advocating for a change in the way people think. And that's what I'm talking about here today. And we want to go back to the ground.
Correct.
And tell wananchi to start thinking about, what do you want for your life? You are born, you live, you die. This life is not a rehearsal. Ukienda, haurudi. You don't die today, and then next. This is it. So if this is it, how come a child born in Sweden walks around well dressed with shoes, with a good health care, and a child born in a part of Kenya walks around, matako iko nje, hana viatu, does not have enough food, and all they can do is glare at helicopters carrying wakubwa wakubwa, bringing them to to funny meetings, and then they leave them there behind. So we need to tell our people that the responsibility that we have as voters, the responsibility is enormous, and that we are going to either be rich or poor depending on what we do. You know, and unajua people say that people get the leaders they deserve, which is true. People get the leaders they deserve. So if our people's mentality, if our people's civilization in terms of the electorate system is weak, we continue being a weak economy, a weak government.
Okay.
But as soon as we get enlightened, we are going to be better. And that's why I'm going to enlighten our people.
Okay, from your perspective, Dr. Mutua, are we where we are as a country because of our leadership?
We are where we are as a country because we've made poor choices
with our leaders
in leadership here.
Okay,
and it's not just the presidential.
So would you say that
you
say the buck stops with the president as the CEO of the country?
Yes. But you see, the president, the system is not set just for the president to rule by himself. There's a president, there's a legislature, there are governors, there are others. And the president may be excellent.
The minute we spread it that wide, then we lose the plot. Reason being, if a company, for instance now, there are companies which are doing very well. If a company is doing well, credit goes to the CEO. If that company goes down, again, the blame goes on the CEO. Why is it different for a country?
No, at the end of the day, the leader at the time is responsible for either bringing the country together, ensuring the country is going on the right path or not. You see, these are choices. But when you come to systems, especially in African countries, whereby leadership and winning is not based on the best person, but is based on the one who can galvanize the tribal vote, it becomes a challenge. And then when you have to bring others who you are not really liking, but you have to bring them in a coalition so you can win, it's not a coalition of mind and purpose, but a coalition of tribal affiliation and blind following, then it becomes a challenge. So you may find Uhuru may have the best ideas, but the people he's had to bring together so that he can win, do they have the same vision as Uhuru Kenyatta?
As he does.
Is he working during the day and then are they doing him at night? You know what I mean? It's the dynamics of African politics, and we cannot ignore those dynamics.
Okay.
So an African president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, is not working the same way as Donald Trump, for example, whose administration is made up of 100% like-minded people.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is because if indeed, like you say, you became president in 2022, then how is it that you're going to change this country when the buck doesn't stop with you as the president? What difference will that be? It means then it may not really matter who is president until we have sorted out these other things. It's
a system and a way of doing things. There's a way you can do things. You know, I feel sorry for Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta because I worked with him for a long time. I know his heart. I know his dreams. I've listened to him. I've seen him getting angry and frustrated at where Kenya is not going because he wants Kenya to be somewhere. But I feel sorry for him because also I think when he started, he got caught up with a public service. He got caught up with a political system, which he took for granted would automatically change and improve. I think that was a mistake that he did. He got comfortable and he thought that he can just, using his goodwill, guide the people. But I know the game. I mean, I've been government spokesperson. When I got in, I saw Anglo leasing unravel. I saw the end of Goldenberg. I saw all those scandals, the maize scandal. I saw the challenges. I saw how Mwai Kibaki did these things. I saw how Uhuru Kenyatta as a Minister of Finance did very, very good things. I've seen how the public service operates. No, we are a process-oriented country. We cannot continue to be a process-oriented country or government. We have to be a result-oriented government. We have to take the Singapore model. We have to take the Malaysia model. We have to take the Thailand model, whereby you are only in office as a minister. You're only in office as an officer with set targets. You fail that, you go home. But the same examples you're quoting, Dr. Mutua, if you look at them carefully, you'll realize that the buck stops with the leadership, with the presidency. Yes. They get to a point where they say, for instance, corruption. They say that if you're going to be caught being corrupt, we'll hang you.
And that there's no discussion about that. Right now, we have presidents who have served their term and are in jail because of corruption. Let me ask you, those are some of the things that Kenyans would want to know. For instance, corruption.
Yes.
How do we deal with, how have you dealt with corruption in Machakos?
You see, one of the things that I did in Machakos, and that is why I was getting into a lot of trouble because of cartels. And I did this, and this is something I experienced with Ambassador Francis Mudhaura, the former head of public service. We realized that when a government buys a pen, you find that that pen is 10 times at times more than if you walk into a store and buy the same pen.
Correct.
So you walk into a kiosk, you buy this pen for 20 shillings. Now, that person who you're buying from is already making a profit because they bought it at wholesale. Now, we buy the same pen, but you are buying it in bulk, but we buy this pen for 200 shillings as a government. This is people's money. So one of the ways we've managed to do a lot of things in Machakos is because I set up something called a reserve price. I said, what is the market price? And this is not new. This is used in Japan. This is used in the US. You say, okay, if the market price at the kiosk is 20 shillings, let's add 5% as profit, because we know this market price is still high because this person delivering is still going to get it at a lower price from the factory. You know what I mean? And we set a reserve price. We say if a road, our engineers build the road and we decide the road is 10 million a kilometer, we said our reserve price is 13 million. Take it or leave it. And people came. And so we've been able to use a lot of. So you see, the reserve price of only 13 million. So this guy is making 3 to 5 million a kilometer. He doesn't have money to bribe. He doesn't have money to give other people so he can get the tender. There's no money to share. So the guy is doing the work. But when you leave it open, a 10-kilometer road will be built for 50 million instead of 10 million. A 10 million road becomes 50 million a kilometer. We are losing money, and then money is shared. Everybody down the line gets money. I call my contractors. I don't participate in procurement. I don't want to know who is winning the tender. All I need to know is that, has the tender been floated? Is the reserve price set?
Has it been done according to the law?
When people are given the award, I'm brought the list and told, this is the list of people who've been given the award. My first question is always, is it the list price that you could get? Is it within the reserve price? Then I meet all the contractors, and they have never met me before. When they get their contracts, I tell them, I expect you to work, and I will not send anybody to take a shilling from you. So if anybody comes and tells you, kuna pesa ya governor, unajua governor anataka kitu kidogo, unajua anaitisha kura, unajua governor, no, they are lying to you. If anybody comes to you and says, Mutua wants something, hii imekwama hapa, kitu ya governor, they are lying to you. So if you bribe anybody, you are bribing them yourself. It's on yourself. So my contractors go out of that office knowing there is no money that is going, and my officers are there, so they can't use that line because that's the line they use. They say, unajua governor anataka kitu kidogo, unajua Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, he contract, unajua we have to have something for the president, we have something. So my people know they work and they're able to deliver, knowing that they can put all the money into the project, and so we get quality.
All right, seeing that you've done...
also, that is us. But I think for our country, the biggest challenge we have with corruption is two. One is investigation. I think up to this time, and I love now how the DCI is doing it. But for a long time, we were concentrating on procedures. Did you follow the right procedure? Did you do this? Money was not lost, but you need to be charged with corruption because you did not follow the right procedure. There was no loss of money, there was value for money, there was this. And so we are caught up with people who are following others over procedures instead of following people who have stolen and people who where this money has gone missing. Now we've seen a shift in that. But we still have a challenge with our judiciary. It's a very, very big challenge. Because, and it's not the judiciary, the judicial officers, it's a judicial system.
The system itself.
That we have in Kenya. And that is why I said the other day, and I call upon Chief Justice Maraga. It's a man I admire. I've read his rulings. You know me, I look at judges and I read their rulings because you can see the state of mind of somebody. And I've read his rulings. He's a very upright man, and he's a man who cares about how things are. But he's also caught in the web. I call it the web of hopelessness because it's a system. But he can gazette rules. You see, there are rules gazetted for government, for petitions. So you can't have a petition for 5 years. So a rule is gazetted saying that from the time a case is brought to court, it has to be ruled within this time. Mpende msipende. And an appeal has to be within this time. So the process is set. So I'm calling upon Chief Justice Maraga, tafadhali, you can set the rules. You can say from the time somebody is indicted, the case has to start, because you should not be indicted before the file is ready and the DPP is ready. The case needs to start within a set of time, let's say 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And when it starts, it needs to continue without stopping. If the witness is not there, saurienu. We do it the American way. We do it the British way, where cases start and end. They say the case will start on Monday, it is over on Friday. Or if it needs 2 weeks, it is over on this day.
That would of course mean the DCI have to do their work.
They do their work properly.
Before
if they do a shoddy job, they lose the case. And then the other team is given the 2 weeks to reply, get their witnesses in place, get their documents. When you start, everybody in the country knows hii kesi itaisha. Then the judge is given the 2 or 3 weeks to come up with a ruling. Then if the person appeals, and you know it's a criminal case, so you appeal when you're already in jail. You don't appeal when you're at home. So if you're convicted, you appeal in jail. So if you appeal, the appeal has to be filed within 7 days or 10 days. The hearing has to start within 10 days. The appeal has to go until 2 weeks.
So would you say,
so that within 6 months, from the time of indictment, within 6 months, the case is over.
Would you then say that the weakest link that we have in Kenya right now in our fight against corruption is the judiciary?
Is the judicial system.
The system.
It's a system.
Again, we are not...
I think our judges, I think our prosecutors, I think our judicial officers are keen. But you see, there's that challenge. You know, a magistrate gets a case, and because it's thin, you know, there are very few compared to the court cases. You're indicted today. Today is what? Today is
Thursday.
Thursday, the
4th.
The 4th, 3rd or 4th?
4th, I think. 4th of July.
Tumeanza kuzeeka.
It's the 4th of July.
Yes, 4th of July. It's American. Oh, congratulations, the United States. It's Independence Day, yes. 4th of July. So you got to court, you're indicted today. And then now the mention is pegged in September the 15th. After the mention, now the hearing is set in January next year. Unakuja siku mbili, umeelewa? And case in point, you know the case of Chicken Gate?
Correct.
Chicken Gate, there was the issue of bribing officers of IEBC. Now, the people who were accused of bribing our officers, walikamatwa kule Uingereza. Wakasema, yes, they were convicted of bribing officer A, B, C, D. Officers tunawajua hapa Kenya. They were tried, they were convicted, they were fined, they went to court, they served, 3 to 5 years? They served their time, they were released. Hapa Kenya, the case has never started.
So now, here's the thing, and the reason why I ask for the weakest link is because if you're telling us that you would want to be president, yet the buck doesn't stop with the president, it doesn't stop with the CJ. Again, we are dealing with amorphous issues that we cannot sort out, because at the end of the day, there are people who are responsible. Kenya is not short of laws. Kenya is not short of institutions. We have enough laws, we have enough institutions. However, those people who are there to enforce are the ones who possibly are failing us. But you're treading very carefully, because you say with the judiciary,
system, but also systems are managed by people.
So
that is why I'm calling upon the Chief Justice, saying it is within your hands to do this. And this is where you share ideas. That is where you need visionary leadership that can say, you're doing a good job, but I have a good idea. And as somebody said, a better idea always gives way for a good idea. So we have to be able to give our good ideas, but the people given good ideas have to look at them and weigh them. We have to be a society that listens to other ideas. We cannot be it all, and that's how I rule in Machakos. As a governor, I listen to ideas because I can't know it all. I can't have the best system. And I succeed because even when I'm developing and I'm doing things, people come up with better ideas that even make my work even better.
Okay, let's look at the economy, because I know you're also passionate about the economy and things to do with the economy. In Machakos, you promised that it was going to be the hub and the center of economy by setting up different things. And now looking at it from a national scale, where are we getting it wrong? Kenya is still suffering, especially when you look at the cost of living currently, the jobs that we do not have, the Big Four agenda, which we're struggling to ensure that it happens. Where are we going wrong?
I'm a student of, I've studied a lot of economics, and you can't be a good leader unless you understand economics and money, because it all comes to money. You look at the Keynesian theories, you look at, let's even start with the concept of capitalism with Adam Smith. Adam Smith talked about the supply and demand, and about how you need to help the capitalist grow. But if you look at the development of the world, it's always been based on credit. And credit means that you are able to give money that actually does not belong to you, that money you do not have, to somebody to develop something. That actually that thing develops more money that enables me to get back the money I gave you, so that I can sort out the person who banked with me, so that the money is able to circulate. So credit is a very important aspect. When Mwai Kibaki took over, one of the things that he did was to open up credit in this country, was to deregulate the banking system. That's why you saw small banks like Equity, that were microfinance, Family Bank, become banks. Before, to open a bank account, my brother, I opened my first bank account when I was 19 with my first job, getting 3,000 shillings, which I had to bank. I went to a bank whereby I had to be introduced. You could not open a bank account. You had to get a letter to be introduced. This is my money. It's like a special club. This is just the other day, in the 90s, it was more like the 80s though, early 90s, I had to get an introduction letter. It was a members club. Only the rich could bank, only the rich could get credit. But we opened it up in such a way that we had branches of Equity opening up in Gikomba, opening up everywhere, such that even these banks that were requiring people now started rushing and opening up. Banks were closing in our villages. So we opened up there, so people started accessing credit. The economy started growing. And I believe for the economy to grow and to develop, the government cannot employ everybody. But you have to give people the power to be able to, the ability to borrow and spend money. And so you need money in circulation. Now, who is the biggest spender? It is the government. The United States, after the Second World War, really realized that their country was devastated. But they needed to get their country moving. So they embarked, during the days of the GI Bill, they embarked on a process of pouring money into the market by massive infrastructure development. That is how they build all these highways. I don't know if you've been to the United States. They build all these motorways, these highways, I-90, all those things. They build them so that government could spend money, because when you are building, people have an income every week, and they're able to go to the kiosk and buy things, and that gets money into circulation. So I'm a believer in consumer spending. I don't know that I'm confusing you.
No, we're together.
We're together, yeah. I'm a believer in consumer spending. Government needs to spend money, and that's why Uhuru Muigai is saying, pay pending bills. Let people be paid. Pay the pending bills. But you have to ask, why are the pending bills not being paid?
Why are they not being paid?
Because there's the aspect of corruption.
So are you
in
agreement when you talk about that the expenditure that we have now on the infrastructure is valid and is going to pay off? For instance, the SGR.
Yeah, the SGR will pay off. But you see, it's not just about the expenditure. It's about, is it value for money? Is the SGR, as it is right now, it's a brilliant idea. But is the cost really justified? Could we have gotten more railway for the same amount of money?
So
were there middlemen? Were there people involved that took the money? And see, what pains me is this. We go and borrow. So you borrow 100 million shillings to develop a road. So Japan is using the same 100 million shillings to build 10 kilometers. But we borrow these 100 million shillings, we build 3 kilometers with it. We've borrowed it because majority of the money is going into corruption. People are eating that money. So at the end of the day, we are minus 100 million, which we are paying with an interest. Our children are paying with an interest. My children, your children are paying with an interest. We are paying. And at the end of the day, we got shafted because we got 3 kilometers. Japan got 10 kilometers. We go to Japan, we say, wow, it's a developed country. Iko na lami kila mahali. I wish we had more money. They don't have more money than we do.
They just used
but
it
they're using it
properly.
Prudently.
Question.
They have cut down the fat, and they have actually... So we need to spend money, but we need to spend it well, with value.
For us to manage time, Dr. Mutua, what would you do differently than what is being done now? Because you've talked about many things. Economy-wise, what is it that Dr. Alfred Mutua would bring on board and say, look, Kenya, this is where we need to go, and this is how we go about it?
The first thing to do is to sit down and say, what is the 20% that you can do that initiates 80%? You cannot do everything. So if you decide it's infrastructure development, where are the main roads that you need to open up? For example, I'm a believer in highways. I'm a believer that when you open up regions, you are able to grow the economy. So that is the first thing that we'll do. Put the money where you do 20%, you get 80%. I would support the private sector because it is the private sector. It is the SMEs. It is, I would actually make it easier for banks to operate so that people can have money, so that we can actually grow manufacturing, so we can get more people employed because the government cannot employ. Support the business community. Cut the red tape. We talked about a one-stop shop to register. It's starting to happen. It's becoming easier, but we're still not the best. You go to Rwanda today, you can go in the morning, by evening, you have a registered company with a bank account, and tomorrow you can start trading. In Kenya, it still takes some time. These are all human flaws. These are things that we can do as human beings to improve the economy. But also, we need to look at how are we spending money? Are we getting value for money? As the President of the Republic of Kenya, the first thing I would say is that how much money do we have and what can we do with this money? Because we complain a lot that we don't have money, but we have a lot of money that we can spend properly to provide services for our people. Are our public servants really working? Because the funny thing is this, I say this. I went to Accra, Ghana the other day, and I was with Lillian, and we're looking out of our hotel window, and we saw manicured lawns. Very, very nice hotel, nice bushes. And so when I went down for a walk, we looked at the guy who was cutting the bushes, said hi. The guy is Ghanaian. He's not a foreigner. And then you walk out to the streets, you wonder, then Accra is a beautiful place, but it's just like Nairobi. The private homes, the private hotels are well manicured. But why isn't the people who work for the government doing the same for the government streets? Why is it when you go into a private building, we are mourning Bob Colimo. If you walk into Safaricom building today as a private entity, it's beautiful. The toilets don't stink. The systems work. If you walk into the Ministry of Lands today, national government, or you walk into many county governments, you know where the toilet is by just sniffing the air. You can follow it. But the people who are working, they are not foreigners at Safaricom. They are still Kenyans. They're not foreigners working here, they're still Kenyans. So it's a management issue. So I would manage the government in such a way that the government operates as a business. How businesses operate.
Need to now up, management and cleanliness and all that. The other day, what was that going on between you and Mike Sonko? He was in Machakos saying Machakos is not working. You are in Nairobi saying it's stinking. The same thing that we're talking about here. What was going on?
Was there anything going on?
That's why I'm asking. Was there nothing going on? I mean, you in Nairobi...
there was nothing. I don't think there was anything going on. I think, I don't know, maybe I was not in the loop.
So your issue was purely that...
All I know is that we have as a country to do things well. Nairobi is the capital of Kenya. Nairobi is not, Nairobi is a very different county. It's the capital of Kenya. And things made by the national government have to be taken care of. My beef was that I participated with Ambassador Mudaura and others, with Philip Kisia at the time, who was mayor of Nairobi, to putting up statues to honor our heroes. But if you look at those statues today, people have defecated around the statue of Tom Mboya and it's just left. It's the same concept I was talking about, private sector and government. Why is in the Ministry of Heritage, why are those people concerned doing something about it? And it was a wake-up call saying, hey guys, this is our country. This is where we get our tourists. This is where people come in from the airport. The Hilton Hotel is just next door. They are taking a walk around. They are learning this is a beautiful Kenya. There's a statue. They get to the statue. Tom Mboya, the name is off. There's, excrement all around. I mean, it's an embarrassment to our country. It is not targeted at any person. Okay. It's a bigger conversation. So people who might have misunderstood it because of the level at which they're operating. I was operating at a very different level. I was operating at a national level, asking a national story. This is just an example of Kenya, because it is not just here, it is everywhere. In Machakos, I've had to fire people when I walk in and I see something has not been done properly. We've had to do that. I walked into level 5 hospital and I request you, take your cameras today, hidden cameras, go to Machakos level 5 hospital, go to Kadhiani, go to Kangundo. You'll think you're in a private hospital. Because I had to put my say, my people deserve. We have as much money as Aga Khan, as Nairobi,
and
as
of course
MP
we
Shah.
cannot ignore
So
the fact
we can get that. So,
and
so I will not be caught up with drama that is not really helping the nation. You know, we're operating at a very different level.
But for you to raise
it,
it's because you are concerned about it.
I
for you
raised
to
it
raise
because
it
of
is
concern.
because there was a matter of concern. And the question then would be, there must be somebody who is a custodian for those things that you're talking about.
Exactly.
If it is taking care of that,
and you looked at my speech. My speech, I said, you do not expect President Uhuru Kenyatta to come here and clean up and fix this.
Because Nairobi has a
somebody is letting down President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Many people are letting down President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Many people are letting down even Governor Sonko himself. You don't expect Governor Sonko to go and clean up himself. Somebody's letting, but us as CEOs, we also have to rain down. We also have to be responsible and rain down on our officers who are letting us down. And that's what I do in Machakos. People are always telling me there's a sewer breaking up here. I mean, Mutua, I'm not going to fix that sewer, but why is my minister sleeping on the job? So I'm very, very tough to my government officials. So we can't let it just lie. You know what I mean? And I'm glad I went there, because if you go there now, it's clean. If you go there down there, it's being fixed. You know, and others are being
Action
fixed.
was taken.
And across the country, all the other statues and government offices wamesema haya tumeamshwa. So okay. This was a bigger picture across the country, not just in Nairobi or in Machakos.
Okay, so we've talked about many things, and I'd like us to wrap up. And the question then would be, what would you say is the secret bullet that Kenya needs in terms of management? Because we've talked about management of counties, we've talked about Machakos, we've talked about Nairobi, we've talked about Kenya, but really what we are suffering, many will say, is a management issue from the top.
What we need, and it's not a campaign, but what we need is also, we need a change in the way we see leadership and the way leaders are. Let me give you in 2 minutes why Kenya, where Kenya is. You see, Kenya has been at a foundation stage from the days of independence. Who was our first president?
Jomo Kenyatta.
Jomo Kenyatta fought for independence. His concepts were pre-independence. With Oginga Odinga, fought for independence. Who was our second president?
Moi.
Moi was in the Legislative Council, the parliament of the colonial powers, pre-independence. He went to Lancaster to write the new constitution. Who was our third president?
Moi Kibaki.
Moi Kibaki was the Secretary General, Executive Secretary of KAU before it became KANU, before independence, pre-independence. So our leaders have been pre-independence. Now, Raila Amolo Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, children of the leaders of pre-independence, have come up and they have worked through their region in terms of putting a foundation for our country. So we've been at a foundation stage, at a pre-independence stage. Now, Raila Amolo Odinga was jailed for many years, fighting for a new constitution, still pre-independence, still concepts of foundation. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is the first president at that foundation stage, kumalizia kuweka ile slab. So Kenya has never moved from the foundation stage. These leaders have done well. Kenya is a stable country. We've been able to achieve more than many African countries. They have done well. But their concepts have been the foundation concepts. Even the handshake, the stability, the handshake is a concept of foundation. Let's stabilize the country. You stabilize a foundation. You stabilize a foundation in a building. So
it's time for us to build.
So it's time for us to move up. And you cannot move up with the same fundi. It's like the driver who takes you in a bus to the airport is not the same driver who will get into an aircraft and fly you to Europe. So we need a change of leadership. We need new blood, new visions.
Are you that
people
changed?
who understand? And that is actually the only reason why I'm putting myself up for election as a president, because we need that transition. A time has come for Kenya to rise and to be even greater than it is, because Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, all these other leaders have done a good job.
Okay.
But it is time for them now to say, it is for us, not for them. Us to say, you've done a good job, asanteni sana, we will not be here without you. But now, let us now take Kenya to be like Singapore.
All right, Dr. Alfred, we'll have to
Mutua.
wind up the interview. But before I wind up, I'd like to know from you, what is it that you're most proud of in Machakos County? What is that one thing that you can stand up and say, this, I am leaving Machakos knowing I have done well?
There are very many things, but
I just want that one thing.
There are two. Actually, just say infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
I've built roads. I've dug over 500 boreholes, 300 dams. Ukienda mashinani, people are much better off than they were before. And this has grown the economy. And because it's all about money. And that is one of the things I want to do, is ensure that by 2022, and then take it to Kenya, is have people need to have more money in their pockets. And it's all about money.
All right.
Watu wakiwa na pesa kwa mfuko, things get better. Hata familia zivunjiki sana ikiwa kuna pesa kwa mfuko.
Okay.
Lakini hiyo headache bila shilingi, mambo inaenda mramba.
Inaenda mramba. Now, you're parting short to the people of Machakos and what they should expect in the rest of your term. What is it that you want to put in place very briefly?
I want to tell the people of Machakos and the people of Kenya that the next 3 years will be amazing years. I'm going to carry out transformative projects. I'm going to ensure that my people get more money into their pockets. Machakos will be the place for people to go and study how development should be done, how leadership should be carried out.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alfred Mutua, the governor for Machakos County. Thank you for joining us this morning.
I really appreciate you, and I ask our viewers, please follow us. Follow me on Instagram, governor @_Mutua, Twitter @Dr. Alfred Mutua, Facebook @Dr. Alfred Mutua. Let's keep the conversation going. Give me ideas of how I can transform Machakos in Kenya, because I'm open to ideas.
Apart from being governor, I think you're also a good marketer. You market yourself well. So thank you for joining us this morning. Well, that's the state of the nation and the state of counties, according to Governor Alfred Mutua's eyes, Dr. Alfred Mutua. And that's where we wind up the state of the nation this morning. But do stay with us right here. Morning Express continues after the break.